the tape. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting, the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission for June 18th, 2019 at 7:30. Would you take attendance, please?
Randolph Dillon, absent. Mary Augustini.
Yeah, here.
Brian Goff, absent. Daniel Janey.
Here.
Jennifer Burton Reeve.
Here.
Okay, minutes. Anyone find anything with last month's meeting?
Nope.
I did not.
I'm good.
Okay, I have on page 2, the motion in third way down the page to approve the application of the Johnsonville Road. The second, it was seconded by Jennifer,
That's right.
not Bill. Okay. And this is a question at the bottom of that page. The second to the last line, the landscaping business, and to install an impervious stone driveway or a pervious stone driveway?
Pervious.
Pervious, yeah, okay.
Everything except the handicap parking.
Right, was supposed to be pervious, okay. And then, this is a nit. On the next page 3, the first paragraph, second to the last line was requesting Mr. Scully to heavily spread wood chips. I think he was, I'm not sure the English is, he's not doing it heavily. The wood chips are being spread heavily.
No, actually it was to heavily pile wood chips.
Chips,
For
okay.
erosion control.
All right,
So instead of spread, it should be piled.
okay. I don't have anything else. Anyone else?
No.
I move we approve the minutes as amended.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Okay, bills, didn't
No
get
bills.
anything. Field inspection, there was none for this month.
Correct.
Can we skip to item 7 first before the show cause?
Want to amend it?
I move we amend the agenda to skip to item 7, wetlands permit review for the Robbie Road, Ed Sikorsky. Stabilize the stream bank. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. My understanding was that the town was supposed to present a engineered plan as to how the stream and culvert's supposed to be.
No plans have been provided at this time, so my recommendation, since it's the end of the month, we're done, is to deny without prejudice due to an incomplete application.
I move that we deny without prejudice the wetland permit of 10 Robbie Road, Edward Sikorsky, Town of East Haddam, stabilize the stream bank and direct flow to the existing culverts. Assessors map 56, lot 81.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and I don't, when he reapplies, when this town gets its act together, that he shouldn't have to pay
Well, there was
another
no fee
fee.
anyways, because it was a town project.
Oh, okay,
It was
all
a
right,
municipal project, actually, he just happens to be
Right.
the property owner,
okay.
so.
All right, so back to item A, 18 Shore Road, Daniel C. O'Mara and Ralph Affinito Jr., filling without a permit in the upland review area, assessors map 67, lot 60.
So let me explain the process. Since the first time, this is the largest crowd we've had at a wetlands meeting in a decade. This is a show cause hearing. I filed a notice of violation. Court. Got it. Yes, you did. So anyway, the cease and desist violation has been notified to Mr. Romero and Mr. Fino. I know. So anyhow, that being said, I have a pile of presentations that I need to make to the commission because they haven't been there, and to the public. And property owners, the reason it's called a show cause, should have had the opportunity to present before us as to why it shouldn't remain in effect as presented. And I don't think I made copies exactly for everybody. But did you bring your copy? Did you? No. Sure. Share. Another one. Almost everyone. Okay. I also have created a inland wetlands and planning zoning timeline for the entirety of the owning of the project, that I may refer to it, I may not do. I don't think I really have to all that much, but there were some questions. So I attached, the first document I gave you was obviously the cease and desist application, cease and desist notice that was sent out. There is a site plan that was presented in 2009 as the original site plan for the bait and tackle shop. The following page is that site plan showing the new fill area that was done without the benefit of a permit. The new fill area not only includes covering over the existing parking lots which are labeled 1 through 11, but also encroaches into the area of what used to be lawn and kayak area. And under the Inland Wetlands Act, any activity within 100 feet, including filling, grading, removal, requires to be brought forth to the commission for review and approval. No review and approval for that has been received. Also in that purple, I have taken from a photo taken on the 11th, the approximate area that has been flooded, and that flooding has been caused by two causes. One is the raising of the parking area to create a dam, and secondly, the removal of a pipe that used to drain from the wetlands across under the road through the yard of the bait shop. And that pipe, if you looked at it from a perspective of this map, where parking lot number 9 is, its approximate location used to come from the wetlands across the shore road and go through the property to that. And that pipe I know is very reviewed because Mr. Romero has told me several times that he removed it. I also included our wetlands approval from 2011, and obviously doesn't call for any filling in that area. I also included our inland wetlands 2011 minutes from August, and I will quote out of this because it's necessary. In it, there's a yellow paragraph that's got a yellow highlighting. Mr. Dill stated he noticed some pipes that were leaking water. Mr. Romero believed that these were clay pipes from old drains across the road. He believed the water was coming from Oak Road and Rock Road. He did not know what should be done with this. He stated for 40 years there had always been water flowing through this pipe from this property. He stated the previous owner installed a PVC pipe in the swamp, which caused and caused the issues. I kept all the minutes with it for that period of time. I also attached the planning and zoning approval letter from 2011, and also the September 2015 approval for the mobile food cart. I included the wetland minutes from planning and zoning, which we actually had 2 public hearing sessions. And I think the most important part is if you scan a few pages and look at it, it's labeled page 4 and there's yellow, and it was a concern back then. Mr. Tom Pettinello, 40 Rock Road, asked who was responsible for maintaining the culvert that is backing up and causing the issues on his property. Mr. Venture stated that this is one of the very few associations without fees, regulations, meetings. This has been typically handled by the adjacent property owners, but he cautioned that they should contact the land use office before beginning any work. So that was stated with Mr. Romero there on that occasion. I also, even though they're grainy black, there's a picture of before, which is 2011, showing the parking lot. This would represent the areas between, I think, 7 and 11, and the fence that has since been removed. There's also before picture of the area of the dock, which now would be the area that is between the bait shop that's been built, the 24 by 24 bait shop, and the Moose Reservoir. It's grass. The next photo is from 2015. It's looking at that same area with a little bit of different angle, but it is grass. You can see the red kayaks laying down in a grass surface. Next photo is taken from those parking lots 7 through 11 from that spot. It was just taken the other day on the 17th. It's all filled. It's all good old Portland, I call it Portland gravel because it's full of fines and silts. All of this area past that post with the electrical cord is part of the grassed-in lawn area. This is the main portion of the violation from wetlands, is that it was converted to a gravel surface from grass without the benefit of a permit. Next photo is that same area, just a little closer up. Next photo is the area of the DEP boat launch and a portion of Shore Road that is being flooded. Next photo is at Shore Road, and you can see that there is silt mixed in with the water. That water eventually wraps itself around the parking lot and ends up in the Moose Reservoir. More of that, next photo is more of that flooded area. This is just a different angle of the behind it, where there's, can't quite see the gravel fill. Next photo is the boats from the angle in the parking area. And the one on the 11th is right after a rainstorm where the entire parking lot from that point on is filled with water. Flip over and it floods around and it erodes and takes the driveway into the lake, polluting the lake. And again, on the 11th there, photo. Mr. Romero and I met in January with the Association North. Mr. Romero's claim at that time was that the association to the north was causing the problem. We tried to explain that the stormwater coming from the association was a minor contributor because it's been doing it for 50 years, and that when you remove the pipe that was draining the area, you allow no opportunity for drainage, and you create havoc. The town has gone as far as offering to assist by donating 12-inch concrete pipe. That hasn't worked. There's been no comment to that. And just as recently as May 14th, Mr. O'Meara, which I included his email, demanded that we give him a response as to why we're not doing it. Part of the problem is it is a private road, not owned by the town of Haddam, nor can we connect it to any other drainage area because I can't make water flow uphill. So what you have is an area that's been impacted with fill. You have an area that's been impacted with a berming, and you have a removal of a pipe that was, according to the owner, been in there for over 40 years, and this association was formed in the 1940s, and this part of it was subdivided in the 50s, that pipe was functioning for the 30 plus or minus acres uphill all along. Doesn't work every time. It's probably undersized. According to Mr. O'Meara, through our conversations with him, it failed in September. In September of 2018, we received a 7 to 8 inch storm that over a 12-hour period, in my discussions with Roger Demergut, that equates to a 200-year storm event. Almost everything's going to fail. We lost Neptune Avenue completely on that, and along with other roads. So having, many places in this town have undersized pipes, but on normal days and occurrences, there wouldn't be the ponding, the overflow, back up onto other properties. Any questions from the commissioner? And I also, I guess to complete it, is that at one point I sent the offer saying this is a draft drawing of what could be done. The new pipe could be installed under the roadway and the driveway, and maybe a grass swale reinforced with stone could be designed to allow the overflow to go through, or it'd be piped to the lake, but it would go from a wetland area that allows some nutrient uptake, clean water, to the reservoir, but it would require the benefit of a wetland review and a permit. And I also included a topographical map of the area of drainage. Lastly, this has been an issue that's been going on, and Mr. O'Meara asked for our assistance in 2007, and I had Brian Curtis, professional engineer from Nathan L. Jacobson, just do some preliminary calculations for pipe sizing at Mr. O'Meara's request in 2007. So, knew about it in 2007, knew about when he purchased it, knew about it when he came to the Wetlands Commission meeting, knew about it when he went to planning and zoning. And after all this time, the pipe is removed. Mr. O'Meara also been in that area for almost 30, 40 years, if I'm not incorrect. So, 50. Okay.
So I have a question. On the plan, it shows a catch basin. Is that proposed or was that existing? And is it on the plan with the purple outline, the flooded area? Or I think it's on the yellow one too. Like in parking spot 6.
I need to go over here and see it.
It's pretty hard to
Stuff
read.
getting old and blind.
In here. Is that proposed or?
There was that could be it. There used to be a little drainage, yard drain, catch basin. It was small, but it was there. Yes. Yep.
So that's not on the state property, that's on this property.
That's on my property.
Correct.
So is
Our
that,
property.
is that gone too?
That's filled in. The pipe is still there, it's just capped off on both ends. And that, after September, it demolished that drain box, the force of the water
Blew
blew
it
the
out.
bricks apart.
So that's existing, that wasn't proposed as part of the redevelopment.
Am I up?
Any other questions at this time? Or-
The purpose of that little basin in the pipe was to allow the wetlands to do its things, but kept it at a level that would not overflood the parking area.
Only under extreme storms. On an average storm occurrence, the
Right.
roadway was dry.
And the wetland is basically from surface runoff down the hill.
Correct. I mean, it's
It's-
shallow. It's
right.
not too far above the level of the lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so first I'd like to say that Mr. Affinito has basically been out of the picture with Lakeside Dams.
Just a little bit, please.
Yeah, Mr. Affinito has been out of the picture with Lakeside Dams and the property being two entities. He basically has been doing his own thing. He had nothing to do with any of this. Witnessed some of the stuff, but, so, I don't have the resources Jimmy has. I can't print big giant pictures
And your name,
like that.
sir?
I'm Daniel O'Mara,
Oh, okay,
18th Shore. We met.
yeah, but
Okay.
for the record.
So you guys, this is starting back in 3/18. Basically, the biggest thing Jimmy fails to tell you is that those 30 acres, which is, the association is a little more than 30 acres, but I think the 30 acres you're referring to is the top of Hilltop Road and those roads that were all installed with the asphalt trip. Because this is my issue. This is polluting the lake. It's not a matter of flooding. The pipe is still there. There's been $20,000 worth of asphalt chip installed in Moodus Lake Shores Association upland. And what I was told from the state wetland woman, Darcy Winter, was that that is most definitely a regulated activity in the state's eye, and that it will impact people's wells, pollute the lake. Bottom line, it's been 7 years, like Jimmy says, I admit, it's always been wet down there. But the increase of surface water from that, turning that pervious surface into impervious surface, brings every bit of water from that association down there. Every storm drain is directed into one ditch going down Rock Road and filling that parking lot like it's never been filled before. These pictures, you can see, if you look, there's a picture, I have a video too, if you'd like to see the video, where the pipe is working full force and the water is still pouring over the swamp in the low spot in the boat ramp. It's just not a matter of clogging that pipe. Today, the water was flowing down there that a 10-inch pipe couldn't handle it, okay? You can't tell me that you can bring asphalt and oil up there and you can let it leach down into that lake where this is your job to protect this water. So, am I wrong in building up this property? I had to protect my property. There's nothing left of it. It was flowing in the lake. It wasn't from just that September storm. This goes back 2 years, every storm. Any neighbor that's in here will tell you that road never flooded like that. That pipe wasn't closed up until the 17th of December is when I filled that thing and capped off the 2 pipes to stop the water going down there. There's dead fish in that stuff down there. I got people telling me that it's minerals that's down there. Maybe we should take a soil sample of that down there. It's all silt in there.
So Would you like me to respond for the commission's benefit?
I'd like the whole commission to get a chance to look at all those photos of the damage. If you'd like to see a video, I can show you a video of this going, I'm running a business here. This is not a hobby. I'm running a business down there. It's in the middle of the summer. I'm having people leave because it's a monsoon coming through there. And I would like to take the opportunity.
Where was this picture?
This is in the front of my beach.
Okay, but in relation to the rest of the property, where?
That picture is on the waterfront. If you, so if you're, let's see, that's like right here.
Okay.
There's a little
Which
dock
is
there.
where the
See this?
pipe
Outlet is?
outlet
was?
is.
No, the outlet is under the dock. What's in front of that outlet, if you try to stand in it, you'll sink to your knee in silt. And, that's the issue. Why should I have to deal with that? I'm renting kayaks. Who wants to go in that? If you look at this overview of this,
This must be.
is this the whole hill up there?
Yeah.
So when you look at this hill, I'm down here. All these roads here, this road, this road, this road, and this road had asphalt chip installed on all these roads. All these roads. This road, this road, this road, going right to Colchester Turnpike, asphalt chip. That's not to mention the rest of the roads that they tried to resurface it with asphalt chip, and it failed.
And
it's
where are
just
these pictures?
That's in the same area.
In,
That's where the water would come across over the property.
So the yellow outline on this is
It's
the,
much more than that yellow outline. That's
is
just
this the
one hill.
drainage area that,
This is, if you try to follow the contours in the GIS, that's the approximate drainage area that leaches down to that point.
Yeah, but what you're failing to say is, okay, if it's not showing up on your contour map, but the rest of the stuff is piped down there and dug out. There's a wetland there that we talked about. And by the way, just for the record, I approached you of April of last year and told you I'm having a problem with the water coming over my property, taking the beach out again. I want to lift the elevation of my parking lot. Do I need a permit? You told me, as long as you use the material that's similar to what's in the road.
And I
It's
said-
bank run gravel is what it
So
is.
see, well, let them look at those photos, then let me look at them, and then I'll respond.
And
Because-
what I'm saying is, if you look at the drainage of all these roads, which I have plenty of pictures, plenty of videos, everything is diverted down to that swamp. Every bit of surface water on that hill and above that subdivision is diverted down the hill.
Is this the beach shop?
that's the big.
Yeah, this is a picture, that represents after I lifted the parking lot to ward off the water. That's the same area that you were looking at before.
This is the entrance to the lake?
That's right at the lake. The lake is actually here. And this was the catch that they were referring to, that it's hard to see, but the bricks all caved in on this side. It actually became dangerous for me to have people even walking near that thing.
So this was the catch basin? Which
That's
was
in that picture.
That was at what, this parking area
Yeah,
that you
in the-
pointed out?
Yes.
So that's where this catch basin is? And where did that outlet to?
Under the dock.
Yeah, directly under that little dock, if you look on this.
Okay.
So see that dock right there, right center of that dock? Pipe would run up to that box and then to the. So here's a, if you guys wanna look at this video. Across my patio. Sorry about that narrating that, but I'm not a doctor.
Let me see what
We've done already.
Yeah.
this is this,
This is November 25th. you just couldn't keep the pipe clear. It just couldn't handle the water that was coming, and it would just stuff it full of debris. And so 2 or 3 times I rented a 90-foot, snake and had to snake it out.
I think you can probably guess. Yeah, because it only last year.
Those are dead fish in there.
What, this,
Those are all dead fish, these little things here.
at the edge of the
Yeah,
lake?
this is what was left after that water came through, and that's what it left when it dried out.
Is that pavement or dirt?
What's that?
Is that pavement or dirt?
No, that's all the beach, where the force of the water took out the. I mean, this is the worst that in November. Well, no, it was worse in. Yeah, that was from the final thing in September when we had all that water.
Sir, can you tell me
That's
where
under-
this is?
That's also in the same where the water runoff would come into the lake.
Oh, okay. What is this here, a dock?
That's a boat.
Oh, that's a boat, okay.
It's just showing the amount of water that's crossing the.
And this is the house on the side where the
Yeah,
kayaks.
I put gravel here to get my renting trailer back here, and to the right of it, I put gravel to stiffen up the property because it was like a muck pit, you couldn't even walk in it, it was 8 inches of marsh. And then put topsoil over it, that's a picture Jimmy has in there.
What did you say, that was the 5th year that this happens?
This is this past season. This is basically, I only took pictures of the last 2 years. It's been happening gradually, increasing, and just in 2016 is when they did all that work in there. And I mean, this is my feeling that increased the water.
What was the road you said that they paved that was above
There was
at the top of the
many
hill?
roads. There was
But which one would have drained down the hill?
every one of them. Every road that's up there is draining down into that swamp. I was there today. I have pictures of that water coming down there today. This is today. It's just running from the top of this hill. This is the swamp here at the end, or the water. All this water, this is all chipped now, which it's failing. You see this? This is where the chip was, and it washed the chip down into that wetland. There too, and here's the path of the water going down to there. You can look at
So
the sheets of water.
is the water coming from a culvert on the road?
So let me, if I can see those, then I can respond to everything.
Yeah.
That's Maple,
Thank you.
Short Road, Beach Road. What's the other one? Mildred, I think.
That's my property line,
Okay, so,
where it keeps going.
first place, you did call me in April, and I did take a look at it, and I drove through it, and looked at everything was there, and there were no activities that would not be considered normal maintenance of a road.
State's property there.
Many of these roads had hodgepodge, either asphalt and or gravel, and they chip sealed and covered, which they can. That is a allowable
They can
use.
they can cover a dirt road with
Yes,
chip
they
seal.
can. Yes, they can.
Well, that's not what the state told me.
Well, the state's wrong, so in that case, the state is wrong on that, because it is an existing road.
So these were all existing roads?
These are existing roads, these are roads that were compact gravel, which Dan is an engineer, you can attest, compact gravel coefficient is pretty damn tight.
Basically impervious.
It's both basically, impervious. And when you have compact gravel, and even if they did convert, because some of it was asphalt before.
None of those roads are asphalt that I'm talking about.
They-
I live on one of them.
And then, trust me, I've been there too, been around for a long time. So by chip sealing it, the coefficient did not change enough to make that big of a difference. The fact of the matter is that the only straw that was drained in the pool has been removed. And you're actually here for 2 things. One is the filling of your backyard area without the benefit of a permit. And secondly, by not just adding to the parking area and resurfacing it, but actually creating a dam and diverting the
Yeah,
water.
well, that was to protect my property.
Well, protecting your property probably would have been the course of action that we talked about years ago. even
First of all, I
back as
don't
far
recall
back as-
ever talking about protecting the property, or this is the first I ever saw that drawing, which, by the way, has a picture of the building there. So I don't know how that works out, that there's, it's a Google picture, but the building's there, and you have a map drawn of, that you supposedly, no date on it or whatever, that,
You've acknowledged to the DEP that you've seen it, so at this point, I think we're just playing games. When it
DEP
comes
what,
down
that I've
to-
seen this, I haven't acknowledged that,
Which-
this
which
map,
one?
that you gave me.
Yeah, that was
I
part
kn-
of an email I sent to you.
This is the email you sent to me a month ago, saying, in response to my email,
No, that was an email from January of 2018,
Yeah.
right after I met you on a Sunday morning with the association.
never got
Friday.
this email.
Well,
And
I'm sorry that
yeah,
you're,
well.
it probably doesn't take a PDF. But the fact is,
Yeah, okay.
you are
Well-
aware, you were aware of the town's offer to
Yeah.
donate the pipe, are you, yes or no?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but I'm not just gonna put a pipe in there without, like I said, having the state have some input, because you're dumping oil in that
So,
lake.
so here's the answer to that.
Yeah?
The
What's
answer to that is that to repair the pipe and to do all that work and to do the filling, you need to properly come in with a proper wetlands application.
Jimmy, I talked to you 4 times. You told me every time, water runs downhill.
It does.
Water runs downhill. You didn't do anything to help me. My property is, my building is getting ready to get sucked into the lake. I'm supposed to just,
If the pipe was there,
listen, I'm not even gonna go back and forth arguing with you.
Okay, that's
So,
not a
so you are telling me that, you're telling me that that is not a regulated activity of bringing that asphalt chip in that association,
absolutely not.
okay? Is that, you're an engineer, is that true?
Yeah, it's not a regulated activity under the wetland regulations. It's
It
not
is
in the
under
upland
the
review
Connecticut
area.
general statutes.
What
They say you
statute would it
you
be?
can't bring.
What statute did she cite for you?
I don't have it right in front of me, but I can definitely, probably pull it up for you.
Okay,
I mean, the road is what, more in planning and zoning?
No, the roads, these are roads that were developed prior to zoning.
Right.
They're existing road systems, there's associations. They have the ability to maintain their private roadways, just like if a property owner maintained it. The application never went through any inland wetland or P and Z review. They were laid out prior to zoning, they exist. If somebody decides to take their driveway from gravel and pave it on a private lot, they can, unless there's a condition or stipulation in the approval letter from the Wetlands Commissioner Planning and Zoning saying otherwise. Since these are pre-existing areas, done.
so just for clarification, so we're here really, the issue that we're here to hear about is the filling within the upland review area on the property itself. And I'm just, so on the plan, is the area that you highlighted in brown, that's the area that was completely filled in?
Filled in and.
This
plugged
area
down
was,
the
this area here, where all this was all, parking. It was all,
So that's
it
parking
was
for
all
your,
gravel.
parking for your
He's talking about
business.
this area here. From this point here, this is a railroad tie, like you see in the picture, where this section here was where the water, I think you saw a picture of the,
That's where it was
this.
all flooded out.
yeah, in here.
And that's,
This area here, I spoke with Jimmy, and he said, if you use the same material, just like you just said, you're allowed to maintain your road or whatever. It's not my road, it's my driveway, but you
your
told me I
original-
didn't need a permit.
but your
for that.
original 2011 approval didn't have any kind of filling approved as part of that.
Not filling past the driveway. No,
Not this.
filling past the driveway, there's nothing.
This
Grading
area is
dam wasn't-
basically, 20, yeah, there's nothing, this was just a sand parking lot until I asked in April if I need a permit to raise that parking lot. And Jimmy told me not if I was gonna use the,
I think the term was resurface. resurface and raise are two different items.
No,
When it
I
becomes
told you that the water
rain-
was still coming through the property, and I needed to ward it off, and I wanted to raise the driveway.
And then
To
where was
repel the water.
the grass that you mentioned, Jim? Is that on this
This,
side?
that's this, what he was saying is grass, which there was no grass left after 2 years of,
And that's where the pipe was?
the pipe is, it's still there, the pipe. It's like I said, I just put fern
So
cones
in
on the
the
pipe. and-
video, when you show it daylighting, there's like a video, good picture of it showing daylight into the lake, that's right
Yeah,
out through there?
that's right here,
Where's he doing, where's he marking that?
in this
Down
little,
here?
Right there.
this little
line.
thing right here.
Right, and the pipe went
The
from.
pipe went from basically,
Right
like
here.
right about here, there was that little drain box. There's
Which
a,
is
it's
number-
not on there.
Number 7 parking area,
Yeah, it's like right in that,
Yeah.
near that point.
and went,
And so that drain box had a pipe that went across here under the road, and then a pipe that went on an angle under this dock.
to.
See
into
that
the
little
lake,
dock right there?
right.
Yeah, right into the lake.
And there's no easement or anything for that pipe to be on the pro, is
No,
there
there was
anything
never
like
an
on the
easement
deed or
granted
anything
or
that like
anything for that.
acknowledges that it's there, or?
So I reviewed the deeds, I reviewed the subdivision map that was on file on record from back when they just filed maps. There has been no declaration that there's a pipe there. The only thing we have in the, for pipe is actually Mr. Merrill's testimony from previous meetings, our field walk. If this was a town road, you and I know that the town would come in, repair the pipe, and prepare the prescriptive drainage easement down there. Right now, unfortunately, when it comes to the pipe and its flowing, it is a problem that really is, it would be, it's the associations. If this was a association that had meetings and bylaws and all that, they'd probably have been in action right from the beginning. But because they're in what I call purgatory association land, nobody's had any enforcement actions to keep the association roads up and running. And that's what leaves, this kind of quandary, but when it comes to the wetland filling and the disturbance and all that, no permit was taken out, it was done, it's clear, and it needs to be rectified.
And so you had said this, the area with the proposed condition, so that was what you proposed in the fall? And the town would donate the concrete pipe
That was
and then create,
January.
so it's like a grassed stone
That was one
fabric swale?
recommendation, that was one recommendation, that you pipe it across and you let it sheet fill over a gravel bed with grass in, that is one. But at this point, obviously, because this is in contention, and there's no willingness to take any of the town's material or recommendation, I think this really, at this point, to take the burden off the town, this is up for the property owner to correct the situation with his own engineer, so that he's confident that he's getting the product necessary to protect his property. Not the town of East Haddam, not an unformed association. Clear and simple. When you remove something that's been there over 50 years,
Excuse me, that pipe's not been there for 50 years. I know the guy that put the pipe in there. I was 15 years old when he put the pipe in there.
is,
I'm not quite that old. Okay.
45.
Yeah, no, I'm not quite that old either.
But still, 30, with 30
That
years
pipe
of
is
it-
inadequate to handle that water from down there, and it's not my responsibility to have that running in my beach, polluting the water, bringing that kind of nonsense in the lake. And if I have to if I have to hire an attorney and go to the state and stay with the state and stay on it, then so be it. You don't wanna work, you're polluting that lake every day.
As every time when someone says they're gonna hire an attorney, my
You
first
told,
comment
yeah,
is,
you told me that on
is
January
please
6th
do.
too.
Please do.
That's right, you told me that January
Get some
6th too.
advice. Well, then I
Yeah.
think you probably.
Well,
at this
somebody
point-
didn't do their job up on that hill. I don't care what you say. And whatever, you guys, I don't know, I don't even know what to say anymore. You saw the pictures of my property. Nobody sitting at this table would allow that on their property. I'm trying to run a business there and get nothing but flack to try to run a business there. It's a seasonal business. I get 6 months to pay 12 months worth of bills. Okay? The town is not helping me in any way. This whole hill is leaching every bit of water. The state says you can't shovel out a wetland. You go up there, there's trees cut and a path shoveled from a wetland into the storm drain. Just those areas up there would hold that, probably that water, those 2 areas. You could shake your head, like, whatever, that's your opinion. I didn't know you were an engineer, but maybe somebody should get an engineer. That's what I was told by Deborah, the girl, you know who I'm talking about, Deborah,
Darcy.
no, not Darcy. I had the guy from the boat launch down there. Let's see. Yep, Deborah Coran, and she said they should have had an environmental survey done before they did any of that. And they witnessed it, it was raining, we were all getting wet, and they saw exactly what was going on. So, you know, I guess you told me at that day you were gonna get the state to send me papers. I've yet to see anything from the state. On January 6th, you told me you left us standing there and you said, well, I guess I'll just have to get.
No, what I said was I would contact the state to find out what their decision was, and they told me in an email that there was no decisions or advice given.
Well, somebody has to make a
So-
decision, whether it's the town, the state, somebody, because it's just polluting the water. And that's why we have a wetlands commission.
Yep.
So I don't see how, well, you know, I could open the pipe up, I could dig that thing back up, pull the fern coats off it and let it run in there.
That would probably alleviate all the
Oh,
problems.
it would
because-
alleviate the problem of the road being dry, but it wouldn't alleviate the problem of all that silt and oil going into the lake.
No, this
So-
is something, so let me repeat myself. From
You,
January 6th, let me repeat
listen,
myself.
I'm supposed to be telling you why I feel that the
Right,
reason
but
why I
you-
put that in there, and this is the reason
But
why,
you
it's
just-
polluting the lake.
You
I-
just stated a comment that you didn't listen to the 6th, so I need to repeat it for the process. On the 6th, I said that wetland system and that wetland pocket acted as a filter from anything that filtrated from down that hill. And by letting it filtrate into that pool, which is a wetland.
It doesn't filtrate in there, Jimmy.
See, you're not
It
listening.
comes over the road.
You're not listening. So, if you allow it to filtrate in there, you've got a better chance of cleaning than allowing it to spill over, go into the road, mix with your gravel, turn into silt, and send that into the lake. So you've worsened.
Pipe was
you've
blown
worsened-
apart, Jimmy.
So you repair the pipe. When you own a pipe, you repair the
I didn't
pipe.
know I was supposed to have a pipe under there. Like I said, there's nothing in my deed that says a pipe, there's nothing in my approval that says I have to have a pipe there, that, you know.
Can I make, do you have any more testimony to present?
No, that'll be it.
So I have 2 things. So one, for the record, I'm not an engineer, I'm a hydrogeologist and a licensed environmental professional, there's a difference. And second, so when the association up the hill was formed, what kind of, like, stormwater, I mean, they must have had stormwater approvals.
No,
and-
we were talking in a formation in 1940s and 50s, where gentleman takes a cloth tape, pulls it down, stakes it out every 50 feet, and sold those places originally as probably campsites. They were all 40 by 80s, all the way down the road, as many as they can get. And when you go up and down the hill, the poor guy at the end gets the shorter end of the stick because the tape was longer or shorter depending on the temperature of the day. They formed and incorporated, I wanna say in the late 50s, they went through the formal incorporation process through the state of Connecticut to become an official association. They have bylaws, they have a budget, they have a maintenance, agreements and all this stuff incorporated in which is they're probably about one of the more solid lake associations that we have. They have the right to tax and all that stuff. They've had those roads laid out prior to zoning forming in 1961 and prior to the Inland Wetlands Commission being formed in 1973. All of those roads exist, they're on a map that's filed on the land records, and they're there. So they're their roads, they maintain them. And to go from like I said before, from gravel to a chip seal, there's not that huge of a coefficient.
It wasn't gravel, it was sand roads, they were all dirt roads.
So,
And I know plenty of people that live on the roads that will attest to that. They're not gravel, compact gravel, they were sand roads. My road was a sand road I dealt with it for 10 years driving down it when it was a mud pit, okay? I don't buy that, and I guess I'll have to do what I have to do, whatever, I don't know what to say. It's, it's just half the roads were done incorrectly. It's all aggregate that's down in the swamp. There's Phil. How much aggregate's at the end of your road going into the swamp? Yeah, a mound of it, and it's going right into the swamp.
I get to keep those.
Oh, you do?
Yes, you presented them. Don't push it.
Okay,
Peter
okay,
Hughes
I'm
would
glad
have
you
kept,
copies.
Peter Hughes would have kept your phone.
Yeah, technically, we could take your phone.
Yeah. Well, I could certainly
Until-
forward you a bunch of videos.
Forward that to us,
To us.
please.
Yes, if you would.
Ooh.
Since you presented that your phone video, whatever, get a copy and forward a copy to the commission.
Who?
It would
Send
be
it to my office.
to Jimmy's office,
Okay.
because since you presented it, becomes part of the evidence.
Did you see it?
I saw part of it, he saw most of
Did you
it.
see it?
I didn't see it.
Would you like to?
Sure.
I'm not good at documentaries, but,
Is that it have a date with it?
yeah,
Oh,
when
yes.
when she's done it, it's the 25th.
November 25th.
November. Like I said, that's prior to the pipe being covered. And that's just one of many.
When you say the pipe being covered,
Well, it was that drain box that in September, when we had all that water, which was not normal, I
Right.
admit that, it blew the brick box apart and it became a hazard. So I capped the pipes off in there and filled it with gravel.
you filled the little
The
drainage
basin
box
with gravel.
And at the same time, you didn't dig the pipe up, you just capped it
No,
off?
I just left it there.
So the pipe still technically exists going down through your lawn
Yeah.
to the lake? It's just been capped off so no water can go through it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That will be in the minutes on the record.
So when you had Brian do the calculations, you didn't own the property in 2007?
He did.
no, we did own the property, but I never knew of anybody doing any calculations or anything. Nobody presented me with anything. He says he presented with me. The first I saw that was like, just a couple weeks ago when Jimmy sent me an email in response to my email saying that I would allow a pipe in there if it was engineered by somebody from the state and it met the criteria to drain the water in there, and that the association would be willing to refund my money that I've spent $5,000 in materials to bring them into my yard, and they would somebody would maintain the pipe other than myself.
When you say you never saw this from Brian Curtis, who is Jay Dillon at NLJA?
That's an engineer at Jacobson's.
Okay.
I never saw any of that.
And Jim, when this was requested from Brian, was there an application in process at
No.
that time?
No, and if you look at my handwritten notes, Brian called for quite a few 7 sections of 12-inch diameter pipe. There's a lot of water that comes down there. And I, at that point, talked to him and said, Brian, we're gonna have a tough problem with cover, and we're not trying to resolve 100% of the problem. And that's where he, over the phone, talked to me about possibility of iron pipe, 3x15 possible, and that's what I conveyed to Mr. Mayor. But that was in 2007. I'll give someone a break about forgetting something happened in 2007. I just keep all the notes. So 3 iron pipes at 3x15. My discussion with Brian Curtis was that it will help. It'll be a lot better than the 8-inch pipe that exists there now, or 6-inch,
It's a 6-inch
whatever it
pipe.
is. But the idea of the iron was to provide cover so that fuel oil trucks,
To go over?
septic pump out trucks and things like that can go over.
And so the top of the 30 acres that flows down into the wetland is a association street.
Yep.
In which they had total control of, rather they probably didn't do much in the way of drainage and runoff and all that
Nothing,
stuff that
there's
you
no,
have to do today.
well, that's what I'm saying, it's not 1948 anymore.
Right.
But other than the chip seal, they've not, there's no new construction,
any-
there's new,
It's not like this is a 20 lot subdivision that came in and got built and that created tons of impervious surface. Change is nominal at best. You wanna talk that over the last 10 years that we've had more frequent and heavier rains? We've had that discussion every wetlands meeting.
Yeah.
So that can be said too. But again, I will state, if you take the straw that drains the pool away, you have absolutely no way to drain it down. And then when you get stacked with storms like we have this spring, since it isn't drained from the previous storm, immediately the second storm floods because it had not had an opportunity to drain. And that itself is causing a pollution problem to the lake by mixing with all the gravel as people try to traverse back and forth to their houses.
All right. Can we take some comments from association members?
If you'd like to, you're the chairperson.
Okay. Does anyone from the association care to address this issue? Are you all just observers?
I don't think there's anybody here from the association, but my name is Phil Roger. I own the property at 40 Rock Road, which is the bottom parcel where all the water drains into. Since the problem with the pipe occurred, my property is probably 2/3 covered with water. I probably have water 10 feet from my cabin. I went to Jim's office a couple of weeks ago with some intentions of doing something with the property, but nothing's gonna be able to be done until some of this water is gone. So I hope that, it comes to some kind of, some way to solve the problem with the water here. I mean, the pipe that was there was insufficient to carry the water, all the water that was coming down there.
well, I
And
think,
it needed to be maintained, and, I was only there on the weekend, so, it's not something that I was maintaining it as best I could, and then when the problem happened during the winter, when I wasn't there, like Dan said, the box collapsed, so Dan did what he had to do to protect the property. But I hope, hopefully something can get done with the property, because here I am with a, a half-acre property that's covered 2/3 in water, and I'm being taxed $69,000 on a piece of property I can't use.
So you're on the other side of Shore Road?
Yes, if you're looking at Dan's cabin from, if you see that, the red cabin, Dan's cabin, and then you see all the water that's laying on the road, well, I'm beyond that, to the right. I'm the last,
Where your thumb is, Mary?
I'm the
Oh,
last property.
you're up here?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
I'm the last property on Rock Road, where all the
Okay.
association water flows into.
Okay. Anyone else care to say something?
No, not this one.
Sir?
Hi.
And please give your name.
Yes, my name is Alan Welch, and I own property at the end of Shore Road, probably a couple hundred yards beyond Bateside Dams. I've been there for 42 years. When I bought the place in 1977, it was designated by the town at that point as a year-round home. The road in that 42 years has always been high and dry, with the exception probably of the 1982 flood, when I had 3.5 to 4 feet of water on my entire lot. road surface the way it is now, Dan Jr. is talking about the asphalt chip process that has caused the problem. That asphalt chip on the adjoining association was done probably the latter part of last summer. I was there when they were doing it. All through the summer, after that chip process occurred on those roads, or specifically on Hilltop Road Extension, and I guess it might be Rock Road, that runs up the hill from where the swampy area is. The road was dry for a couple of months after that. Everybody that traveled back and forth, including the O'Mara's to Mr. O'Mara's cottage next to me, they were taking golf carts up and down the road. There was no huge puddle there. A month or two after that process was done on the adjoining roads that caused any water backup. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask Dan Jr. a question, but I'd like to know how many truckloads of fill he has brought in since late last summer, early last fall, because in going into the property when it was frozen, my car was like an icebreaker trying to get through there, and this is a road that I've accessed for 42 years. So I believe that the increase of the level caused by the fill that he's brought into his lot, combined with the fact that the catch basin and piping is now blocked off, as Dan indicates, is a double whammy.
So let me ask you, to get to your property, you come in from Colchester Turnpike through Shore Road
No, I
and
come in, East Haddam, Colchester Turnpike,
Right.
launching area road.
launch, that's what I meant.
And then Shore Road takes a left and a right from the,
Right.
as you're entering.
Yep.
If you take a right and go past Dan's Bait Shop, there's a bait shop on the left-hand side of Shore Road.
And
I
so,
am all
yeah,
the way down at the end of Shore Road.
so that part of the road kind of goes down a little and then goes up a
No, it's
hill?
pretty much been a level, it's been a level road pretty much from the boat launch
Yeah,
out to my property.
and this is what it looked like it all flooded.
Yeah, this is the flood.
So if you take a look at the photo with the back end of the truck on it,
Yep.
look, as I stated, the parking lot has been raised and now the road is lower. Is
Okay,
that what you're
Yes,
stating?
that's what I have to go through to
Okay.
get into my property now, is a huge,
so this is,
that's Shore Road.
okay, and you have to drive this way to get up to your piece of,
As
property.
do the other
Okay.
property owners that own properties down
Okay.
past Dan's Bait Shop that are also here tonight.
up, okay.
Thank you. Oh, one other thing. I'd like to just point back to something that Mr. Ventris highlighted in yellow on some of the earlier minutes going back to, I think, August of 2016, when the bait shop approval was being considered.
Mhm.
And I'm quoting, Mr. Dill stated they noticed some pipes that were leaking water. Mr. O'Mara believed these were clay pipes from the old drains across the road. He believed the water was coming from Oak Road, Rock Road. He did not know what should be done with this. Well, we know what he's done since. He stated for 40 years there has always been water flowing through his property. So at point of purchase, he knew what he was getting, and he paid for what he was getting, which was basically a low-lying flooded lot that, based upon neighbors not objecting at the time and the town's desire to put in a bait and tackle shop, he's been approved. He's put a building up there, so he's enriched himself. He's also got a part-time business as a result of what the town previously approved. All that I'm looking for as a property owner that needs access on Shore Road is for him to get it back to the way it was, that he admits has been that way for 40 years.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Bob Kazner, I'm the Chairman of Economic Development. This is a small business in this community, and Dan has basically provided a service out there that we need. We're we're a tourist town, that's a tourist business. And granted that there is a situation here with water going through here, it's necessary to basically get the water under the road and get it to the lake. I don't know whether it's Mr. Amara's job to, I mean, if there's a 6-inch pipe, but we know is way undersized for what's trying to be drained down through here. I don't know whether it's his responsibility to replace it or not. It seems like that should be an association. It's an association road. It would seem like it should be the association who has to approve it, and basically it's their road. Everybody's got a responsibility to it. But it does look like the water has always gone across his property, and it seems like it should still continue to go across his property. But I think that to basically put a cease and desist on the man, it's 4th of July weekend coming up. It's probably the weekend when it's the busiest weekend in this business. And from the standpoint of economic development, we don't want to see a businessman lose his livelihood during the busiest season of the year. So I would ask that if something needs to be done, which it obviously does, I mean, there's certainly very good statements here from property owners. They need to get to their property. They shouldn't be going through a puddle of water to get there. They need to have a dry road to get there. But I don't know whether it needs to take and be a cease and desist on this business owner to do that. I would hope that we could come up with saying, okay, how can it get fixed? And how can we basically fix the problem without basically closing the man down during the prime time of the season? And I would hope that we could come up with something. If you write up saying, okay, something has to be done, it certainly looks like it needs to have at least a 15-inch pipe out there in order to get this thing to work. But it's something that, let's not hurt the businessman who's trying to operate a business, which in this day and age is really hard to do. It's a tough project to survive today out there. And so I just hope that the board will take that into consideration as they're trying to alleviate the problem. Let's not make another problem with a problem that we have. So, but I hope that we could somehow work together with Jim, work together with the property owner, work together with the neighbors who are in the area. We're talking about getting a pipe underneath the road that's, 16 feet wide. It should be able to do it between, all reasonable people working together and get the thing done. And I would just hope that we could do this so without hurting the neighborhood, get the project done, but without hurting the business person. Thank you.
If I could, I didn't mean to suggest that we shut down his business. I'm just trying to get
I understand.
the level of fill that's been brought in remediated so that the water doesn't sit on Shore Road and on this poor gentleman's property who's on the other side of the swampy area.
So, Jim, I'm sort of confused. Clearly there's no clear directive as to who's responsible for the pipe, who needs to maintain it.
Yes, there is. Let me
But
read.
didn't we actually, you proposed what a reasonable solution seemed to be?
So I proposed what a reasonable solution seem to be. That was brought forward. And in my email from May 15th, when Mr. O'Meara demanded a response in 2 weeks, I did it. Number 3, since Shore Acres Park has never formed an association and the pipe's functioning will directly impact you, it would benefit you greatly to maintain the pipe. I would recommend working with the properties that cross the pipe all the way down to your father's property to form some type of informal association to maintain the road and the pipe on a semi-annual basis. The town and the Moose Lake Shores Association to the west are not responsible for maintaining another association's property. Number 4, the town of East Haddam has graciously offered to donate and deliver concrete reinforced pipe for the project. That offer still stands. The town has over 50 sections of non-association roads for a total of 3 miles in length. The town is not in position just to repair these roads at the taxpayer's cost. The legal method for repairing a road that are not designated as a town road is a lengthy process in which a benefit placement assessment is placed upon the properties benefited by the improvement. Cost is all yours and your neighbors if you can get them to participate. And just so that people understand benefit assessments, if the town has to move in and fix a roadway, and like the classic is my father's association, which disbanded, they asked about the town coming in and fixing the roads. The way it works under a benefit, and this is statutory, is that when an improvement is done by the town, that the town figures out the benefit assessment, usually meaning the cost of the road, and they assess it to the property owners, generally by frontage. My father owns an association that just disbanded. He owns two 400-foot frontages because the roads are set on both sides. He called me up and he says, the former association president told me that you're gonna assess my property for improving the roads. And I said, I didn't say that. I said, if we came in and fixed the roads because we had to, because of flood damage, whatever. He goes, good. Let me know when you're doing that. I'm signing the property over to you so you can pay the bill. But the way it works is benefit assessments are assigned out. But
So-
this is a private association.
So
He has the opportunity to work with.
So the association that needs to form is really the residents that live along the west side of Shore Road that are most probably are sitting here?
That's what my recommendation would be.
Gentlemen.
Yes,
Donald Tate from 10 Shore Road. It's my understanding that, to correct this gentleman, that Lower Shore Road, that is not part of an association at all. He claims that it's part of the association. It's not, it's a private road. And, we have all worked together to maintain that road because the people towards the end of that road have a right of way through that property on that road to get to their own piece of property. It's a difficult call because now with the added material that's now, creating that berm and the pipe being blocked off, the damage is a lot more than it would have been if it was just a little overflow running across until the rainwater could catch up. There's always been that 6 or 8 inch pipe on that road since I was knee high to a grasshopper walking down that road, and it's always worked fine. I know we've had a pretty wet season the last couple of years, but I don't know if I have a solution to the problem, but it's, what I want to make clear was it's not part of the association. We have a right of way through that piece of road to get to our properties.
Actually, what happened is Shore Acres was a final subdivision.
Yes.
There was an enabling language in there for you to form an association. It was brief and narrow in description. Nobody ever did. The ball was dropped way back.
Yeah, I talked about an assessment. When I bought my property in '77, I questioned the seller's attorney, and there was an assessment for $2 for every 20-foot waterfront by 100-foot deep lot that you had. And I'm on a 100 by 100 lot, so I own 5 lots by their definition. I owed somebody $10 a year. But they said we've never been approached to pay that assessment, and nobody ever formed apparently a formal association.
And you're not the only ones in town. And you're not the only ones in the state of Connecticut.
right.
I have something to add. Technically, if you look at my survey that was recently done by Bob Weaver, there is no road or access for anybody to get to the end of the road. Because over the years, the water increased, it filled the pond. The phone company had to come move power company rather, had to come move the power pole and move it out of the swamp because it was 4 feet into the swamp because it kept filling up with water. So if I was to take my property back, a car wouldn't be able to get to the end of Shore Road. There's 5 feet between my pin and the swamp. Yeah.
Well, this road, it still shows that there's only the corner of your parking lot is on the Shore Road.
If you look at my property line and you look at my pin, you find my pin.
There's a telephone pole.
Yeah, that's not where the pole's
Well, this is a survey that was done by Mr. Weaver.
Yeah, so you go on there and you check out this survey. You take this map out there and you lay it out and see where that pin ends up. And you'll be 5 feet away from the
This is
swamp.
dated 2009, so if was the telephone pole there in 2009?
It was, yeah, I'm not sure exactly
There-
where it was
there's-
in the swamp.
Well, the pole could be, there's.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, there was probably there and it's shown there, but we could get Bob Weaver back there. Well, maybe I should put a fence across my property line and leave it there.
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing? Dave Kane, 10 Shore Road. I'd like to see a resolution here. I would like to see the option for the town to donate the material to do the drain. If it's a situation of the drain going through the yard that you don't want, then that's something that we can't resolve.
It's the pollution.
So
that
I
don't want.
get that too, and I understand that, and I'm all about that as well. I swim in that lake,
I hope so.
my great nieces and nephews, my great niece swims in that lake. And I don't want that lake polluted more than anybody else does. So I like the option for the material to still be on the page for Mr. O'Meara, for said drain if we have to replace that. Now, that being said as well, being a private road, I'm willing, I can't speak for other property owners on that road, but I'm willing to donate my time to come down and do what I got to help out to resolve the situation. I'd like to hope everybody else on that road will do the same. Just gotta call us and ask, get a hold of us, we're there, we're willing to do it. So email, whatever, and that being said, if the town is willing to still donate that material, which, Jim, I sure hope you still are,
Well,
that would be a good thing to move forward.
Just so you understand, under a hostile situation and donating anything, all good deeds go, no good deed goes unpunished. There would be a waiver on this. There'd be a waiver document to sign, everything else, because at this point, I've already been told by, higher ups in the town administration that you've put us at risk by doing that, and maybe you shouldn't have. So like I said, no good deed goes unpunished. And for Public Works, it was a good offer also. We were going to try to unclog it in the middle of January, and that's when Mr. Mira told me we took out the pipe and it's not there anymore.
Okay.
So we tried to help everybody out down there, doing what we could under, those situations. And Public Works can't do something they can't solve. And nor do we have the right to execute on without a court order to come on somebody's property and put something in place.
Right, absolutely. Well, I would like to see going forward if we can all manage to, because Dan, I like the business.
What's the
I like
problem
the
with
bait
getting
shop.
an engineer something that would do the job correctly, not just drain the water?
I've already given you something for 2007. You forgot about that. I cut you some slack on that.
Forget about it, Chip.
So you got that before you. There's no way that you're gonna be able to put enough piping based on our engineer's report from 2007 to take care of everything. You're not gonna cover a 100-year storm, but you're gonna cover most of the storms. And that's better than nothing. And that was the solution and compromise that we offered back then.
But that's
of
only
doing
the
it.
drain, that's not addressing the problem.
What's
The
the problem?
concern is the pollution
No,
of the lake.
No.
Well, you could all
let
say
me-
no, but
let
if
me-
you
let
wanna
me
come
put it
down
this
to my
way.
beach and.
Well, that's a concern, that's a concern.
Hold it.
What I wanna address is,
One
I
person-
hate to
wait,
interrupt,
wait.
I'm gonna call point of order here.
Please.
Please, one person at a time.
Continue.
That's all I'm saying, is that just that my issue is, I was told by the state that oil will pollute the lake, contaminate wells, the neighbor's well is surrounded by that water. It was all oil, Chip. There's case law that shows people with the same situation being awarded awards because their wells are contaminated.
If the state told you that, who, did you take it up further with the state to,
The state told me, Darcy Winter said I need to come to the Wetland Commission, request the upland wetland review report. That was done prior to those
and to
people.
do what with it?
And to find out if a permit was granted and if a wetland review was done prior to the asphalt chip going up
So
there.
the asphalt chip didn't need a permit review done?
Who says? That's not what the state says.
Well,
So
let's just shortcut this. Trust me, in a week's time, I will have Miss Darcy Winters, Mike Payton, and several others from Mr. Williams from the DEP for a field tour. And I will request a date, immediately
Then have them
file a
there.
report.
Have them tell me that it's okay to put a 12-inch pipe under there and we can have at it.
Well, we're going to have that report real soon.
Jim,
They work for
wait.
us.
I have a question. Now, you said that Mr. O'Meara removed the pipe. Now, Mr. O'Meara, I have heard that you say you've capped the pipe.
Yes.
So did you remove it or
No,
did you
it's
cap it? So it still is
The
there?
pipe is still there, and the hole can be dug up, and the drain catch basin be put back, and the pipe will flow
Okay.
through there. But I'm just
So
being told that it's polluting the
why
lake.
don't you uncap the pipe and then we can move forward and go further with some more,
I just wanna say one thing about the pipe and the catch basin. The catch basin there, the pipe comes in at two different,
levels?
not in line with each other. So when the catch basin said collapsed, I don't know what's going on, but when the catch basin collapsed, you can't just unclog the pipe, you have to dig out that catch basin and do something, because the pipes, it's not a continuous pipe all the way across. At that catch basin, the pipe comes from the swamp, goes into this side of the catch basin, and goes out that side. So that would have to be dug up and repaired in order to open the pipe. If you just open the pipe, it's just gonna become,
And who owns the catch basin?
it's on our property.
It's on your property.
So you
So
basically
you
own
own
it.
the catch basin. So the maintenance of the catch basin falls to you,
Correct, and that,
correct?
and
Okay.
that's, I haven't been on the property since
Okay, and I understand, but I mean, that's the
what needs to be
clarification
done
we
for that
need.
pipe to work again. That would have to be dug up, exposed, repaired, even if you connected the pipes somehow to each other.
You don't, that's not the purpose of a catch basin, not to connect the pipes to each other.
Well, the catch basin was put on the property by the owner originally.
The prior owner put the catch basin there, it was a homeowner that stuck a pipe under there and built a thing out of brick. It's not a catch basin, it was an illegal pipes.
I'm
put
just saying
under
the
the
pipe
ground.
is not a straight run through the
It
property.
still served a purpose,
Yeah, who built the lake right now?
that's your opinion.
It's
Well,
not my opinion, it's what I've been told.
No.
no,
I
If
think
it
we've had
were-
enough
I think
back
we're
and
done.
forth.
Right.
I think we're
Okay.
done.
Yes.
but I think, you know, if we have to try to come to a solution that keeps your business running, is to immediately do the catch basin and,
Well, you also have,
and then we have
let's-
to deal with the fill.
Well,
It's a
we
separate-
have the fill issue that there's, which, of course, if the catch basin and the piping is going to be fixed, you have to dig you all the way through that place. But right now, we have a property owner who's unwilling to do that. So, right now, you're at a standstill. Period.
If it means anything, I'm 50% property owner, and I'd be more than happy to have your own pipe through the property to alleviate all the problems, eliminate the catch basin so it's not even there. As long as it's not polluting the lake, and somebody can assure, I don't see that being a problem.
And I can,
So
so,
that's what it needs.
so, and I can by next week align everybody from DEP
Okay.
and get it in an email that that's not an issue, cause I'm gonna make them go out and do a field walk.
Right,
I mean, it may not just be a pipe, you may have to put,
Oh, there's some work to be done.
Yeah.
You and I know that, I mean, we've been there.
but that's the way to do it. The catch basin on the road, it was just, I think, maybe when the guy did it originally, put that there and then added the pipe, I don't know, the pipes not in line with each other, but if you just ran a pipe through the property,
So-
everybody would be happy.
So
As long as
according
it
to
doesn't
the,
pollute lake.
so according to the cease and desist order, we have the show cause hearing tonight. We have there's 10 days, the commission can contemplate what was presented tonight. And then make a determination with regard to whether the cease and desist remains or whether it gets revoked. We have basically, a little less than a week and a half before the July 4th holiday, which I'm sure you would want to get the whole thing resolved by to have the business opportunity. So, I mean, if you can get DEP here
My
and
recommendation
make,
is to-
explain it to them and get this thing done before July 4th, then we can make the decision within the 10-day window.
My recommendation is to reconvene the show cause hearing to next Wednesday if possible. Does that work?
it's okay. How about you? How about you? Randy will be back.
Okay.
Um, You think you, like, DEP would be,
I-
have
They're
already
gonna
seen
put
it
something,
and,
If I have to drive up and drive them down.
I have a function that day. I have something
I
for
have
work.
Tuesday, I have planning and zoning. How about Thursday?
Thursday's okay with me, how about you?
Thursday, the 27th.
Yeah. I don't,
That's the 27th.
today's the what,
Today's the
20,
18th.
the 8th,
Yeah.
25th,
All right.
26th, 27th.
Yeah,
either,
27.
yeah, 27th's okay.
7th's okay.
Okay, and we'll tell Randy he has to be here. So, for the purpose of this and reconvening is to have the DEP people come down to try to get a solution together
No,
that,
I
no,
want the DEP to investigate
gated the pollution.
the property to the uphill
Right.
side and make a ruling as to whether they thought there was a potential pollution problem or not.
Okay,
In other words, stop dispensing advice without being out there.
right,
Not seeing it, yeah.
And they're gonna come down and pay for that.
Yep.
They're gonna spend some time in the field, all together now. Because I've only been doing this for half of forever.
okay. And you will let, when you schedule that, you'll let Mr.
Yes.
O'Meara know so that he can be a silent witness, Mr. O'Meara, a silent witness to, when the
Absolutely.
DEP's there, okay.
And at that point, I can come back with their reportings, written reportings, and we can move on as to the reclamation and restoration of
Okay.
the site.
Jimmy, the people that you're gonna request from the state will be, Bob Gilmore, he's the stormwater management.
Well, did Bob Gilmore give you any advice?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He had me contact Neil Williams, who you spoke to.
Yep.
There's Mike Payton, and, I think Darcy Winter, I was told, no longer works there.
I think she retired, did Darcy?
Get the hell out.
She was close to it.
That's not fair. She just took it over from Steve Tessitore.
But you can request
Yeah,
Brian Thomas.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Brian's
to
the
get the people
director.
you need, anyway.
Maybe we can get him over there.
Okay.
So at this point, we adjourn this and reconvene next Thursday in this room at 7:30. And we will have the information that we need to proceed.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I second.
Thank you. All those, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
and we will try to get this resolved when we get. Okay. Enforcement officers report,
You just heard it.
okay. Conservation Commission, they're not here.
They're not here.
All right, any other information, Jimmy, that we need to know about? Okay,
Motion to adjourn. I move we adjourn.
I second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can turn this off.